Blizzard designed a Demon Hunter spec that hates the way World of Warcraft is played. Devourer isn't just clunky, it's a mechanical parasite. It markets itself as a mobile, mid-range apex predator, but the actual gameplay loop is a mechanical pincer that punishes you for interacting with the core reality of modern encounter design. It's a stationary turret spec trapped inside the game's most mobile chassis, and it belongs in a different game altogether. On paper, the loop is compelling. You enter Void Metamorphosis, which puts you on a decaying timer. To fight that decay and stay in the form, you have to harvest soul fragments to fuel it, so that you can cast your two heavy hitters, Void Ray and Collapsing Star. It's a high-stakes minigame where your uptime determines your entire DPS ceiling. But here is where the design reality divorces from the game's actual encounter logic. In Midnight, in World of Warcraft in general, standing still is a death sentence. For a Devourer, moving is a DPS death sentence. Void Ray and Collapsing Star are immobile hard casts. If a boss drops a ground effect or triggers a knockback during your burst, you have two choices. One, eat the mechanic and probably die to finish the cast. Or two, clip the cast to live, which triggers a mandatory 5-second penalty cooldown on your Collapsing Star. Because of the accelerating decay on the Metamorphosis timer, that 5-second lockout doesn't just stall you, it effectively can end your entire window. You drop out of form, lose your banked souls, and spend the next 30 seconds spamming consume like a wet noodle while you wait for the next chance to actually get to play the game. The most egregious failure is Shift, the movement ability that replaces Fell Rush. Visually, it's a ground-targeted teleport. In modern World of Warcraft design, a teleport should function a lot like a mage's shimmer, allowing you to reposition without breaking a cast. But Shift is a lie. It is mechanically coded as a dash. Despite the blink animation, it respects the no casting while moving rule. Using your class-specific movement tool to dodge a mechanic results in the exact same 5-second penalty as walking. It is a tool that actively baits the player into failing their own rotation. You can't even play safe to mitigate this. You cannot hold your burst for a clean movement window because the fragment RNG will cause you to overcap your resources, wasting the fuel you need to sustain the form later. You are forced into a burst window where the house always wins. When your performance swings wildly between god tier and garbage based on whether a boss AI targets you during a 2.5-second hardcast, you've lost player agency. The spec isn't hard, it's statistically incompatible with the movement-heavy reality of World of Warcraft. The problem with Devourer isn't a tuning issue. You can't fix this by changing the numbers. This is a structural collapse issue. Blizzard has built a specialization for a static, slow-paced action RPG and forced it into a game that regularly requires unpredictable movement to survive. Until Shift functions like a true teleport and the immobility tax is removed from the Demon Hunter chassis, Devourer will remain a design outlier, a spec that feels like it was coded for a game that doesn't exist, regardless of its damage numbers. Are you playing Devourer in Midnight? What are your thoughts about how the specialization works with typical dungeon and raid mechanics? I'd love to know in the comments.